Hey, everybody. Today I wanted to share a couple of thoughts about the energy, this thick emotional energy that we have coming up to this full moon in Scorpio. Scorpio is a sign that has this intensity to it because it's wanting to feel safe. And I always think of Scorpio as the part of us that looks under the bed for the boogeyman, or looks, it's like the signature of those haunted house movies where the kids go in to scare themselves. Like they want to see the scariest part, because once they know they've touched the scariest part, there's no further to go. And then their fears can evaporate and there's some kind of transformative event that happens. And that's really what happens with our fears. We live in a really interesting world right now, and there are so many different viewpoints of a single event. People are having diametrically opposed views of the same event. And if you are an empath, you may be feeling, squeezed a little during this week as we move into this sort of, Scorpio, when it's in the full moon, is really looking at the things we don't want to look at, and ultimately letting them go. Because, first of all, I always think of Scorpio as almost like the scalpel knife, the knife that wants to cut out the rotten piece. And it's like we're doing surgery on ourselves basically this week. So you may have felt stretched. You may have felt a lot of emotion come up. A lot of it is very instinctive energies inside yourself or others that are fear based. And I decided today that I wanted to pull a card. And I don't always do this, but I have this deck by Mel Brown. It's the Aboriginal Goddess Chakra cards. And the card that I drew was Spiritual Ascension. Let me show this to you. Oh, there she is. And it was interesting because, this is talking about, and I'll read what she says because it's very interesting. Um, there is an instinctive part of us that feels when we begin to make changes, and when we change our structure, for example, which is Saturn, and Saturn's, holding its own with this full moon. And then we have Uranus that's also squaring both. And so you have this part of us that is ascending. It is evolving. It's making new decisions, new choices every day to step into a greater self. And as you do that, there's a simultaneous part of you that's like, wait a minute, who moved my food dish? Don't do that. Don't do it. Don't do it. And throwing open the closet door. It's going to be terrible. And so we are each on a path right now. And I'm not even talking about the fear stuff in the world, because that's a whole other level. But in our personal lives, it's like we're in evolution always, no matter what it seems, no matter how stagnated we may think that we are not. And the point of this Scorpio energy is to create, to bring to conscious awareness through the emotions, the things that are really holding us back. And if you're empathic, you're going to be feeling this happening for everybody around you as well. And one thing that empaths often try to do is solve the problems of other people, take on the energy and the emotions of others, and want to kind of fix that. And when you have this kind of intensity like we have, we're in a time of change, individual and collective. And all you can do is step onto your path and really just allow those fears, allow all the closet doors to be opened, and the screams to be heard as people are exploring the limits that they have for themselves. And it's not up to you to solve those limits. It's not up to you to judge those limits. And guess what? It's not even up to you to judge your own limits, but just recognize them. And you'll recognize them between this push pull of creating something new and what you have to let go of in order to walk through that door, and looking at the boogeyman and examining the fears that come up for you as you are making changes. And again, this is compounded in the world, because there are problems in the world that none of us can really solve right now. You can't look at a problem and say, I know the exact answer for every person in that situation. We can't do that. And so I guess I'm just speaking to the tension that's up for us this week, and that each of us are feeling in our emotional bodies. Scorpio is very instinctual. It's not even always going to be conscious of what it's processing, but just know there's really important work going on this week, culminating with this full moon. I'm going to read to you this card, Spiritual Ascension, because I loved what she said about this. Because I couldn't find just one way to talk about this energy this week. I was like, um, I need some overall way to speak about this. So this is what she says. Spiritual ascension is about experiences, not lessons. Lessons often mean that you have done something wrong and have to learn from them. Yet experiences are simply that, experiences. They provide a pathway to get to know yourself better and understand the bigger picture, which doesn't always have to focus on us as individuals. There is no magic formula to finding the path that best suits your spiritual growth. And for each of us, it's an individual journey that becomes our story. We create our own dreaming by walking our own tracks and learning from our own experiences. Sometimes we can walk together with others down the exact same track and experience the same exact thing. However, what we learn from our journey can be entirely different and unique for each of us. That's that idea that you can film a scene from the point of view of all the people involved, and it's a different movie that each person is watching. Whilst you are having the same experience as others at the moment, don't worry that you are seeing things differently to them. Your evaluation of the situation is correct for you based on your understanding and experiences in your life's journey. The differences don't make you right or them wrong or vice versa. You need to create the environment to help others understand that there's no definitive answer to this situation, that you can all support each other to respect everyone's unique view. The issue is not a big deal anyway. It's just a storm in a teacup, and everyone is caught up in thinking their own opinion is right. When everyone agrees to disagree, the situation resolves itself, and everyone will wonder what the fuss was about in the first place. That tempest in a teapot energy is how I'm kind of seeing this week. There's always some turmoil and some drama, I think, when we get a full moon in Scorpio, especially with Uranus zinging us with this unexpected either opportunities or things that feel like, who moved my food dish and how dare you? Things that make us feel uncomfortable. And we don't want to feel uncomfortable, but we have to be uncomfortable to grow. And one of the most uncomfortable things, I think, for a lot of empaths is looking at the world as it is. And there's no cohesive way to pull it all together so that everybody feels the same about it. And also because people are at different places with their fears. So I hope that's helpful. I'd love to know what you think and how you're experiencing the energy this week. I see it as a really transformational time. I think there's a lot going on under the surface, and that we're going to see some big changes coming through this new moon, this big full moon. Not a new moon, it's a full moon. So take that with you, and I hope you're having a really good week. Bye.